listening to the Muses Behind the Music podcast. I am your host, Michelle Fallon, here with my distinguished co-host,
Anise Murillo.
She's doing it purposely, y'all. She's doing it
I had
purposely.
to. I had to.
I mean,
I just had to.
It's so extra. You don't even have double R's in your name for that. So,
I mean,
okay.
I could put whatever I want in my name.
Oh,
I mean, I was saying it wrong before, so I may as well spice it up now.
Spice it up, get it real. Okay, so, hey, listen, y'all, I'm going to have her, let's take care of some housekeeping before we get into some meat of what's going on here and what I need to, share with our listeners today. Go ahead, Anise.
Y'all already know you get your weekly reminder. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many other streaming platforms, along with our live premieres on the first and third Monday of each month. And those live premieres are on YouTube and Facebook Live.
That was well spoken. I appreciate you so much. Yeah. So we have a special guest with us tonight that is going to be with our episode 3, part 2. Or is it episode 2, part 2? Whatever it is. Y'all know that it's just another episode, but we're continuing on about knowing yourself and knowing your worth. I'm going to introduce her in a minute, but I had a good friend of mine who sent me something via Facebook. Patrick D. McCoy, thank you so much for what you sent, because this is so hot, yes, and relevant to what we've been talking about. And this was actually a brother who was writing this post, and I was like, this is fire. And of course, I shared with him our podcast. So hopefully we can become friends and he can share along with other people. So his name is Mr. Jones. All right. I don't know if he'd want me to call out his whole entire name, but I'm trying to give the brother some props here. All right. So Mr. Jones, and he writes, seriously, if you know you're not truly interested in having this discussion, do not approach me. Capital letters, y'all. No more charity, donation, benefit performances, nor recordings. And yes, churches included. Lord knows I can't wait to have some pastors on so we can talk about the hot topic of paying your musicians or not. Because we still in this same conversation in 2021. And I'm wondering if they feel that they should be paid. Anyway, I digress. Continues and says, I'm deeply exhausted. Being too nice has been my blessing and curse and my fault. Capital letters. I promise you there is a rookie, your next victim, you'll prey upon for the free work. I hope they have enough sense and courage to say no to you too. I was guilty of this. I was too concerned I'd lose the opportunity and exposure, and that somehow this would make people, quote unquote, notice that I was easy to work with and professional. Good Lord knows that a lot of us, we kind of have this tendency to think that, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, because the whole conversation about compensation is so uncomfortable.
And especially as women, too.
Oh, most definitely.
We don't want to be seen as aggressive,
yes,
too assertive.
Yes,
it's always something
yes,
with how we're presenting ourselves.
Yes. He continues. And he says, I was also too concerned I'd get #blackballed if I said no. I was constantly selling myself short to just get a foot in. Stop doing that. Please, y'all, stop doing that. You are disgracing yourself. You are better than that. You are enough. I think if we could say this over and over, you were listening to a song one day in the car with me,
right? You didn't like,
and I did not like the song. What was the name of the song?
He Still Loves Me.
Okay,
from the Fighting Temptations.
Okay, so the only reason I didn't like this song is because I still think it had verbiage in it that made people feel like they still weren't enough. We're made in the Creator's image. That should be enough. Oh, have mercy. I'm not going to go preaching, right? I'm going to continue. He says, I promise you what's meant for you has already been orchestrated for you to have it. Just stay the course. My constant reminder, and it ain't easy to believe this all the time. Good brother, I know that's right. Been there. Trust me, you didn't, quote unquote, miss the opportunity, though to others it could appear that way. Who cares what others think? I've always been that kind of individual. I know everybody ain't made that way. And I'm always praying that people get to that space. I'm talking about you. I'm looking at you. I'm talking about you. You know what I'm saying? Because you need to have a little bit of that says, it don't matter what anybody said. They didn't give me this talent. Who are they? I digressed again. Let's continue. He says, trust me, you didn't quote unquote miss the opportunity, though to others it could appear that way. Trust your hashtag intuition, your quote unquote gut feeling. Ladies, you know that God has given to us that special sixth sense, that gut feeling. Men, y'all ain't got that. It's because we were born to be the nurturers. We carry the life. We bring forth the life. So we have to have that extra thing to understand what's going on in front, to the sides, and behind us, and we help y'all too. That's a whole other discussion. I digressed again. Here we go. It's the quote, spirit dispatching energy to protect you. Hashtag listen to it. To those inquiring our work or service, remember, it's all business, not personal. If you take our no personally, that is 100% your business. I know that's right. I cannot be held accounted for, responsible for you feeling a certain way because I said no. If you want to take it personally, you're going to have to get up into your own feelings and be okay with that. Also, be forthcoming to anyone you talk to about us. Musicians, he's talking about. Tell them the truth, that you asked for hashtag free work and we chose the best option for ourselves. Stop tarnishing our names because we value ourselves enough to reject your lowball offers or no offer of payment at all. And then he makes this beautiful post underneath it, a picture that says how to politely say, quote, sorry, I'm not doing that for free, end quote. And he gives 4 bullet points. I love it. I thank him.
Wow, that's incredible.
I thank him like he was writing this a couple of days ago, but he was writing directly to our conversation because, as musicians, as artists, period, I just don't want to categorize it just as people who are in the music industry. Because so many people who are visual artists and creatives, we have to struggle with this. We have to struggle with this greatly. So this brings me to our guest that we're having on tonight. Now, so she is not in the performing arts industry, yet she is an amazing performer. And so we just going to be able to talk a little bit about the other side of the business called entrepreneurialism. Last week, wasn't it you that was struggling with words? Okay. All right.
Was it me?
Yeah. It don't matter.
It could have been. I struggle with words every day.
Anyway, this amazing sister, she is a 9 to 5. For 9 to 5, she's the division chief of judicial support. Now, to this day, I don't know what all of that is, but y'all, she about to come on and tell us what that means. I just like the first 2 words, division chief. She running it. She running it somewhere.
That's right.
24/7, she is an entrepreneur. She is a distinguished lady of what I call to be the greatest sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated out there. She's a God-fearing woman, not by default. She's the script writer for the Muses behind the music, so extremely important to know too. She's a mentor, a comedian. That's my personal favorite. She's classy, she's sassy, she's bad to the bone, bossy and bougie, but above all those things, I am definitely honored to call her my friend. Please welcome Miss Fawne Lindsey. Woo!
Well, I've been holding my laughter for the past few minutes. Thanks for having me, ladies. Thank you for letting me invade your space. As you mentioned, I am not a vocal musician. However, I do enjoy music, and I enjoy it in all genres and in all modalities. And I am a lover of dance. And so that is my connection to the arts, although I don't do it professionally, and I don't even do it anymore because my body tells me otherwise. I do it for fun, but that's about it.
But so awesome. I met you. That's how I met you, the talent you, with the dance, and I was blown away, like completely blown away. So tell us a little bit about that, your upbringings with the dance. Did you want to become a dancer? Were you forced into dancing?
Well, no, I wasn't forced into it, although I'm the only girl in my family on both
Mhm.
sides. So growing up, there I was quite the spectacle because I was the one that was going to always get on the dance floor and do whatever the latest dance was and do it to the nth degree. So, my cousins and my family, they got a kick out of watching me dance around. But my mom introduced me to dance at a very young age, at 3 years old. I started taking dance classes, and I pretty much focused on ballet, tap, and jazz was what I did as a younger child. And I did that for maybe 5 to 6 years. No, actually, probably until I was about 12 years old. So, I had a good 8 years or so starting out before I had enough of an opinion to say that I wanted to do something different with my Saturday
Mm-hmm.
morning. Because any of you listeners out there know that dance is and can be very consuming, just like I'm sure singing can be. And so it was an all day thing. My mom would drop me off on Saturday mornings. She would have lunch and snacks packed, and she would, come pick me up sometime later in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So that got really old.
For us, we
Go
love
ahead.
that. We actually, well, I'm not speaking for Denise
Mm-mm.
because she's actually looking at me like, speak for yourself, right?
So, right. So with dance, it's that every week and then layered when it's
Yeah,
recital time. So it's like every day, leading up to the
that sounds
recital.
like
So,
fun.
so I did that. Yeah, it was fun, and I enjoyed it while I was doing it, but stepped away from it, and then got back into it once I was in college. Is when I started back dancing formally. And as I share with you, it was recreational at the time. So don't get any ideas. I wasn't swinging from
Well,
poles or anything like
you use
that.
the word recreational, and then you get our Musies thinking.
Recreational.
Right. Now, I will say, in full disclosure, I was in a rump shaker contest when I
Oh
Ooh.
was in
my
college, and I
God!
won the
Is there a
contest. I
video?
won the contest.
Right.
No, that was, look, the only reason that I can even say that with any glimmer of
Dignity.
anything is because there were no cell phones back then. There were no, no video. So nobody has it other than in their memories. So there you go.
Oh wait, Fawne, I
So,
love that. I love that you still have that. It's interesting to me too. If you see, your skills as being a choreographer, because that's in essence what you did, running the You Praise Dance group at New Bethel. So how'd you get into that?
right. So You Praise was birthed from I have a dear friend Jennifer Grillo who's passed away, but Jennifer led the dance ministry at her church at the time. And my brother, who was not pastor at the time, my brother and his wife used to plan these workshops, retreats, and so forth. And so they called it the Seminar at Sea. And it was a cruise on a commercial cruise line, but there were groups of us who would go on these cruises, and they would host, spiritual workshops throughout the time that we were on the cruise. And so, for one of the culminating programs of our workshop retreat, there was a worship service, and Jennifer and I danced for the service. And from that, there were several members of the church who were on the cruise. So as soon as we got back to land, the next thing that I knew, I was being asked, when are we going to bring this to the church? When are we going to bring it to the
Yes,
church?
y'all.
And from that, that's how You Praise was birthed. It was, kind of organically grown. Initially, we set out to do a single dance. I was going to teach a dance to a group of people who were interested. And the dance was The Presence of the Lord is Here. And so we sat out and we did this dance.
Right.
And, I didn't see it as ministry at the time. It was just a dance, it was
Yeah.
a performance. We were going to do this dance. And we wore white t-shirts, blue jeans, and tennis shoes, and we danced around that church doing The Presence of the Lord is Here. But from that, obviously, we formalized and became a pretty significant ministry in the church. at the time, unrestricted because it incorporated a little bit of sign language. It was all ages, all genders. So we were, unrestricted in our praise. And that's how You Praise over 15 years ago now
I love that
was
because
started.
I also know how very persuasive your brother can be. And so I'm sure that in your mind, you had it as one dance. And after he saw that one dance and the success of it, he was like, little sis, let's talk. Let's see how we can make something happen. You don't even have to agree. You don't have to put him out there, but I know.
Well, no, but I want to say this though, because my brother was not the pastor at the time. So You Praise was in existence for probably 5 or 6 years
Wow.
before he became
Wow. Okay.
pastor.
Well, you see that, Ulysses. I take it. I take it on back.
Now he was definitely responsible for it lasting as long as it did under my leadership, because once he became pastor, of course,
Right.
I couldn't easily walk away, and I didn't necessarily want to walk away. So he was, it's something when you have a church that is supportive of dance in church, because every church doesn't enjoy that.
Absolutely. But what is so amazing about you? I believe that is still a part of ministry within you, but you do so many other things. You have several different businesses. And so I'm going to ask you a twofold question. One, share with us the business that you have, that you run. And then I want you to tell us, because you have a 9-to-5 job. And I want to know how you balance that, because so many artists who are listening in, they have unfortunately not been able to just rely completely on their gift. And so they have to do something else. And sometimes that something else locks them into a space of being commonplace and being comfortable. And I love not seeing either of those words identified with what I see in you and your movement, although you do have a 9-to-5. So tell us that.
Yeah, so I'm going to flip the question and start with the 9-to-5, and then talk about how I've been able to grow these other things. So I've been fortunate to have one of them good government jobs where I've been, I've been able to kind of navigate in the space, just kind of in a like a I don't know, a serendipitous way. I mean, it's just been kind of, things have come my way. Hasn't necessarily been hard to land the jobs, and I get in these jobs that I don't even know how I end up there, other than God, orchestrating it. And because it's a government space, and so you can kind of create and protect your time, because it's literally a 9-to-5. And I've not had a situation where I've had to bring work home, and so in my off time, I've been able to expand and grow all of these other things that I'm truly, truly passionate about. And so my business platform is mostly around event planning. Started out social events, weddings, milestone celebrations, and things of that nature. However, I've been able to grow that into now being in a corporate space and doing a lot of corporate events, and supporting corporate events. And so for me, the balance has come, by fortune of having a job situation where I can protect time and carve out time, take off when I need to. But then also just kind of finding ways to infuse what I'm passionate about into my 9-to-5. So because I'm sharpening my skills, like always sharpening that administrative part of it. Because that is what I feel like I'm best in. I feel like it is a spiritual gift, and I'm operating in my gift constantly. So I'm always fine tuning and finding ways to reinvent and apply it in across various contexts. So that's how I
love
balancing.
that you're able to find that time and that you work on it. You just started something new. I saw it pop up on Facebook. What are some of the offerings that you have in your businesses?
Okay, so from the event planning, yes, you're right. There have been many offshoots from
Yeah.
the primary component of the event planning. Most recently, we started a company. Me and along with two girlfriends started a company called The Little Black Box, THEE, Little Black Box, and we are a custom gift curators, where we source the items that we include in our mystery boxes are sourced primarily by
Love it.
minority-owned businesses. And this is something that was, birthed
Yeah.
during COVID. Not doing a whole lot of events, but what I have been doing is doing a lot of event enhancements
Yes.
for virtual events. One of which has been these boxes. So I've been doing donor boxes for some of my corporate clients. I've been doing just individual gift boxes for people who still want to have those milestone events. And from that, I said, I need to be thinking about ways to kind of pour back into
Yes.
the community. And one of the ways that we can do that is by spotlighting minority owned businesses. And so, since I'm doing these boxes anyway, let's put it in a black box and let's source it with black
I
vendors or
love it.
people who look like me, women, people of color. And so, the Little Black Box was launched on Inauguration Day. We were wildly successful with our first release of our Black Love
That's
series
awesome.
boxes, and just released yesterday a Women's
Mm-hmm.
History Month is March, and so we're celebrating sisterhood during the month of March. So
Yeah,
get your
I
little
know that's
black box.
okay. So everybody, you'll
So
have
that's what I
to
got.
make sure that you go on and tell the Musies right now where they can get their little black box from. Just put it out.
You can go to www.thelittleblackbox.com, and the with the extra e, THEE,
I love that.
littleblackbox.com, and you
I love
can
that. I
see
was
all that
saying
we
to
have going on.
somebody
Thank you.
recently, I was like, listen, the whole COVID situation, that we're in, I have felt. I thank God that I don't have anyone who was family that has passed and from COVID, but I know people who have passed from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side of that too is that this time of being home has given us, or should have given us, opportunity to get creative, to grow, to start thinking outside of the
Mm-hmm.
box,
Mm-hmm.
having multiple streams of income. I'm all about that. Like in my music life, how can I make all of these gifts that I have inside the music work in different compartments that doesn't look like anybody else's? I mean, look at what you're doing with the little black box. I just think that it's so important that we take the time that utilize our time, because time is so priceless, and you can
Mm-hmm.
never gift anybody like that, like time. We're talking about worth being in time. You can't put a price tag to it,
Mm-hmm.
but utilize it to the best of your opportunity to make things happen for you, to make things become. So
Mm-hmm.
what I really do want to know is, in the world, we as musicians, one of the things that we kind of contend with is figuring out the space that says, how do we charge? What do we charge? How you figure out your
Mm-hmm.
worth in certain areas of the music field. People already come with levels of price tags, and you literally have to fight and beat those price tags because you're better than that. How does that work in the world that you're in? Is it kind of the same thing? Like, do you face people who are like, hey, I don't know you, so you might think that you worth, $3,000 to do this thing, but I'm only gonna kick you out 300.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I mean, I think that anyone who is delivering a service or something that you can't put a tangible on, so it's not, you don't have a deliverable associated with it. So that is something that I struggled with starting out, because I was, doing weddings and social events, and even with the way that I market myself, I kind of market to my warm market. I don't, I have a public facing website for everything that I do, but most of my business has been, through direct reach and direct touch or referrals of people who have used my services. And so that's a question, like, how do you determine what it is you're doing and place a value on it? And I don't know that I have a straightforward answer. I mean, it has just evolved with time. The more that I have done, and even if I've done something, without being compensated my worth or doing something for free, I use every opportunity as my leverage to build my portfolio to say, okay, now I am at a point where I've done all that I can do for free. I have enough of a record of success to say, okay, now, you can check the references, you can check my referrals. And so that's how I've just kind of, again, because I've been doing it so long, I have a certain amount of confidence about what it is that I'm doing, that now it's not negotiable. And, I shared with you in our conversation the other day, just recently, last weekend at our conference, our church, the mantra for the year is having the courage to pivot. Trailblazer is the theme. And one of the things that my pastor brother said was that, when you're operating in your gift, there is a certain amount of confidence that comes along with that. And when you have that confidence, you can affirmatively say, this is what I'm worth. And you can move forward, and you can have the boldness to walk away if people are not trying to pay you. So I loved the excerpt that you read at the beginning of this episode, because being able to walk away and say no is something that it takes some time to arrive at that place. But once you're there, and all it takes is for you to do it one time. If you do it one time, you will always be able to say no, or will always be able to name your price. Just get over the hurdle and do it that one time.
Being able to say no, that we can really cross all lines, because I can't begin to tell you how many friends I have and people I know who, outside of asking for a monetary figure, they struggle with saying no to people, and they burn themselves out. They feel that they it really
It is such a powerful word.
I have a personal
2
story
letters.
with with myself and a niece. I was teaching her this lesson. All right, I was teaching her this lesson. This is when she was in her teen years.
I knew this story was coming,
and she was always feeling like people would ask her to sing. And I was always big on saying, now you're at the time that you need to require of people that they compensate you something. It ain't got to be nothing big, but have something, because it is your time and people are taking you and yada, yada, so forth and so on. And she's just like, sometimes I just don't feel like doing it. I was like, you're going to have to learn how to say no. So long story short, I call her up and I say, because this was pretty typical, hey, Anise, I need you to sing for something. And she was like, I really can't do it. I ain't gonna lie, y'all. I had a fit. She had a heart failure. I had a fit. I was like, what do you can't do it?
No, she went off on me. First of all, I was like, I gotta practice sometime.
I'm a Thrina.
Right, exactly. Right.
We never had the conversation of her giving me an entire lecture about how I need to say no, and it just all went out the window when it came to her.
It did. It really did. It really did. But, hey, it was a lesson in it for me too, that, hey, Michelle, what you are sharing and teaching to your goddaughter, it belongs to you too. If she says no, you've got to respect that, because this is her time. This is her artistry. She can't give it to you just because you are godmother. No, she knows that she's tired. All of those wonderful things. So yeah, thank you for that lesson. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I mean, really and truly, it was worth it. So, I one of the things you had mentioned earlier in the conversation was about supporting the Black businesses. And I think you're in such a great position as the kind of entrepreneur that you are, and the kinds of services that that you all are providing. And the one thing that I'm not struggling with it, but the world seems to struggle with this word, is with these two words, the difference between being an aggressive individual and an assertive individual, but especially as a woman and as a Black woman. How do you be aggressive in certain areas? Like, can you think of an example where you had to be aggressive versus asserting yourself? Because they're very different. They're not interchangeable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I can give you an example. This is from my 9 to 5. But so in my 9 to 5, which I really didn't expand upon, I work for the federal courts, and I work in a judicial office. So most of the people in the office that I work with are attorneys. I am not an attorney, but there are lots of attorneys, and the group of people that I lead provide support to the rest of the office. So they support the attorneys. And so we were in a virtual call meeting, and one of the attorneys who was covering that meeting was introducing the other people from our office to the judges who were participating in this particular situation. And he goes down the line and he, announces everyone. And I was there, as a supervisor, kind of overseeing the flow of the event. And he introduces me to a group of judges as, oh yes, and that's Fawne Lindsey. She's an admin person from our office. And so I said, how am I going to deal with this? Right. Obviously I'm not going to address it right now, but I'm going to, basically tighten him up. Yeah. So I, offline, I went to him, and, he comes to me for help all the time. Right. So he comes to me for something, and I answered him, and I helped him. And I said, and by the way, I am not an administrative person in our office. I am a supervisor. Look, I had to flex my title. I am the division chief of the judicial support of the Judicial Services Office. And, and so he never acknowledged it, but I know he heard it. He never said anything. So that I don't know if that's an example of being aggressive or being assertive, but I needed to let him know in the most aggressive way that I could, given that we were in a work setting, because I really wanted to say something else, but so yeah. So but then the other piece of it, just in other contexts, I'm passive aggressive, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I can be syrupy sweet and let you know when I've been crossed, let you know what I'm worth, so whatever. So that's my approach.
What about the times when they misunderstand you just walking in your gift? What do you do then?
Sometimes when you are trying to take people to another level and you come across, in an educated manner, you got, I tell you this all the time, you got to meet people where they are. Right? So sometimes you can't approach a group of people, with all of the intellectualisms and the way that you would normally speak and break down and teach and so forth and so on, because when they don't understand it, their own insecurity now starts to come off on you and tries to put you into a box that says, oh, you're being a diva. You are, I can't begin to tell you how many people would say that I'm a B. And, church folk and non-folk, whatever. Non-church folk.
I think people really misuse those terms, and they don't even realize how much they misuse it. Because what makes you? I mean, I know you so well, and prima donna.
I know, like your face. I gotta say, your face was like, what in the world?
That's not you at all.
I just think that a lot of times when you come off, especially because I know this to be so true. If it was a man who was speaking the same way I was.
Oh, he is. Ooh.
He is, and I've seen that happen too, right in front of my face. I've seen people, put so much energy and accolades, and he is awesome, he's wonderful, and he could be going off on them. I love the way he teach, and I stand up and I do the same thing, and they're like, oh, okay, all right, diva, okay, we here, all of that extra stuff. I'm tired of battling all of that. That stuff wears me out. All right. So here's the thing. Fawne, in this business world, who do you look up to? Who are some of your role models?
Well, I must say, just from being a pure entrepreneur, my mom.
Happy belated
my family
Queen.
has had yes, her birthday was yesterday, so we celebrated her pretty much all weekend and celebrate her all the time. But my family business was and is a private school. And so all my life, that's all I ever saw was my parents work for themselves. And when my father died unexpectedly, it's been he died in 1992, and my mom continued to take the school to where it is. I mean, this year will be 50 years the school has been in operation under my family's leadership. Yeah. So that I mean, I get it honestly from her just in her, just being all in and all about it. Now, the other side of it, just the kind of random nature of all of the different kinds of things that I do. My father, bless his heart and rest his soul. I mean, he was one that was going to try it all. I mean, he was going to do Amway. He was going to do,
Amway. Yes, my parents got up in
Amway. Remember Amway? He was going to do, yeah. So, in addition to the school, he had his hands in all kinds of different things. And so I get that part of it from him. So, I mean, I would truly say that they are my role models in this entrepreneurial space, even though they did something very different than what I'm doing. It's just that work ethic that they instilled in me from a very early age. I mean, I can remember my mom, we would do yard sales, and I would be out on the front porch selling pizzas made out of English muffins. And I was selling English muffin pizzas and lemonade. Like, it was just very, I was always selling something. And so it's just funny how it has morphed into all these different things.
Hearing your
all
story
these years
too,
later,
kind of brings everything
that's where it
full
comes
circle with what you do and all the different things that you're taking up. Hearing the different things that your family has you doing, that it's all coming together now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That 180 or 360,
it all makes sense, right?
You will see it. I mean, full circle. That's what he said, right? Halfway. All right. But it's better for us to turn around 180 than a 360 because we go right back to the same. Okay, that's a sermon. Anyway, I love the fact, the one thing that I can speak to is that when you show up to do a job, you show up like in its fullness. And I appreciate that because I think I pride myself in coming in with excellence. That's my whole thing. I've worked with you before, and like hand in hand when we were doing that play, and I had to say, okay, I'm gonna let her go ahead and do her thing. I think we had a conversation in the middle of this play that we were working on together that basically we told each other, you let me do me and you go and do you, and we'll work it all out together. That's basically how it was. And pretty much. And I completely respect that. I completely respect that. Are there things that you think about that you must show up to every space with, like, I must show up on time? I know it sounds crazy, but for the people out here who were like me too, I mean, I'm a procrastinator. I'm a late person. I have to purposely set my clocks 30 minutes ahead of time to get me on time. If I'm ever on time, stop looking at me, Anise. I mean, I have to do little things like that, but it's all part of the professional package. It's all a part of the. What are some of those things that you do for our young entrepreneur women out here who are listening in so that they will know how to start setting themselves up for success?
Do your research, understand your audience, understand the situation that you're walking into. For me as a planner, I'm going to always do site visits, multiple site visits if necessary. I'm going to go after hours so that I can care for everything that might happen, that is not carefully laid out. And I can't say that I'm the most punctual person in the world. I do suffer from that spirit of procrastination, but because I'm prepared, I can wing it on a dime, and but that you can't be both. You can't be unprepared and be a procrastinator, because that's gonna trip you up in the end. So you're going to arrive not having fully thought everything out, and then be trying to do stuff on the fly, and it's not going to come together. So I think the key is to be prepared. So like I shared with you the other day, I'm going to research ad nauseum anything that I'm getting involved in. When you asked me to, be a part of this, I went online and I said, okay, I've never done a production. I don't know. And so I studied, like, how do you write a timeline? How do you, write a treatment for something like this?
That nature in you that says, I need to know. I need to present it with that knowledge. Sometimes some people, they really don't have much of anything to say, but they're just so confident in how they say absolutely nothing that you believe they know everything. Fawne, I appreciate the perspectives that you have given us all tonight to think about, from those who are young to those who are well seasoned out here. It's never too late to be an entrepreneur. To tap into, I get a lot of conversations from people who always say, how do I find my purpose? I really don't know how to answer that. One of the things that I do share is that I just get in tune with God. And then you have to. And getting in tune with the creator that's within. The creator is already dwelling within, and talk to the creator. Be in spaces where you can have your mind open, not to have distractions, and that you ask the direct question, what am I supposed to be doing? What are my gifts? You might have to take a gift test. They got all that kind of stuff online, so you can discover some of those things that you never thought about before that you really do have. Do you like to organize? That's a gift. Someone like me needs you. Someone like me. I'm so serious.
That's true. I mean, when you're really operating in your gift, you will be surprised at what people can't do that you can do, that you can monetize. And really, it's amazing. When I first started doing events, I had someone pay me to fold things in trifold.
Real.
Like,
that's
I'm like,
real.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not. But don't call me if you want arts and crafts to be done, because that is going to look so crazy. I don't have any. I do stick figures, and there's no creative imagination. There's just nothing when it comes to that. With my hands. But you want me to write you a song, I can do that. It's not anything like that with music. I just don't have it. So find those things, dig into them, and I really appreciate who you are, and that you are always moving and shaking and trying to see what the next step is, what the next picture is. I appreciate you being on here and sharing a bit more of who you are with the world. For those people who are listening and know you, and those people who are listening and don't know you, they're getting to know a bit of you and the little black box. I love the fact that you're supporting Black businesses too. Hey, everybody, Musies out here. One more time, this is Fawne Lindsey joining us tonight. And don't forget to go over to the little black box and get yours. The orders can start coming in now. Thank you, Fawne, so much for joining us. This wraps up our show. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to many more conversations.
Having me. I appreciate both of you.
On and off.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, thank you, Musies.